you remember, back in around April sort of time, I made a video called Bakugan Gundalian Invaders review, and it was a pretty okay video, but there was quite a lot of things wrong with it, as many people pointed out. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to straight up remaster it and make it all again. So anyways, let's get on to that now. So anyways, the story, credited to Bakugan Wiki of course, Dan, Marucho and Shun get caught up in a war between two different alien factions in another universe, teaming up with the three new brawlers, the Nethian Fabia, the new human Jake, and the other undercover Gundalian Ren, in order to stop the evil Gundalian invaders, the 12 Orders, from destroying Nethia and possibly Earth. They meet these extraterrestrials when they enter through the virtual reality Bakugan in space, otherwise known as Bakugan Sword Art Online. At first, the brawlers are deceived into thinking that Nethia has started the war against Gundalia, but the story progresses that the battle brawlers realise that it is actually the other way around. The stakes are high. Will the battle brawlers be able to defeat 12 Orders and saving Bakugan once more, or will they lose this time? Spoiler alert, they win. So the story description from the Bakugan Wiki was pretty okay, but let's go a little bit more in depth now. Now before I start explaining the story, I just want to say I'm sweating my fucking ass off here. It's bloody hot. It's like 32 degrees outside, and I feel like I'm going to like melt, like turn into a slime. Right, so firstly, Dan moves to this place called Bayview, which is literally just Miami, but without all the drug dealers and cartels and, you know, stuff like that. And also Julie's there as well. Also, we introduced this character called Jake, who is literally just your average American football dude. Yo, bro, what's up, bro? You wanna fish tacos, bro? That sort of type of dude. So then eventually they go to this place, which is shaped like a Bakugan, and that gets them into this place called Bakugan in Space, which is once again Bakugan Sword Art Online, which is what they were experimenting with in the last season. And also, towards the end of the season when they were testing out, there was a guy called Ren who hacked into the system of Bakugan into space, and then like now he's like the data manager, which is quite an interesting way to get a job. So anyway, some plot happens, and then eventually Dan, Drago and Ren, they all fight in one of the areas, and they manage to cause an explosion so big that it crashes Bakugan into space. I reckon the explosion was probably big enough as like spawning in 5,000 Ender Dragons in Minecraft and a bunch of withers, all to crash Bakugan into space. Somehow that happens. So when this massive explosion happens, Dan is actually knocked out, and he actually has a dream of Bakugan fighting. Now, if you recall back into season 2 again, there was a video that was being sent around through this data where it showed Bakugan at war. That was Professor Clay. He watched that video right as his massive ship exploded, and that same video is basically what happened in Dan's head, but it was a dream. Ren later informs him that this was real, and basically his planet was under attack by Nethians, which, by the way, if you know a thing or two about Bakugan Gundalian Invaders, Ren is a Gundalian and the Nethians are under attack. This is where I question the naming department of Bakugan. They're like, okay, we need a new name for a series. There are these Gundalians invading the Nethians, and the Bakugan Brawlers join the Nethians to fight the Gundalians. What are we going to call it? Maybe the Bakugan Intergalactic War or Bakugan Star Wars. No, actually no, that's terrible. But no, they went with Gundalian Invaders, which is basically the plot twist of the series. Big brain, those guys. So anyways, there's these Nethian spies that come, and Ren has found them, and they show up in Bakugan in space challenging people and fighting, doing things. So the Bakugan Brawlers obviously fight them, thinking that obviously, you know, the Nethians are the bad guys, which by the way, they're not. It's actually the Gundalians. These Nethian spies are actually Gundalians. I'll be talking about them in the characters section a little bit more because they're relevant to the plot somehow. And then later on, Fabia, my favourite character, comes in and tries to tell Dan that he's wrong and Nethians are the ones under attack. But obviously, Dan can't handle the truth. However, Shun, with his reasonable head, takes Fabia out of into space and talks to her in person, figure out, okay, the Gundalians are actually the bad guys, and manage to convince the whole team that, yeah, Ren is actually the bad guy. Eventually, in all this catastrophe, there's a Nethian agent who comes, Linus Cloud, I don't know what his name is. He comes to interspace to try and give Fabia some information or something like that, and then he ends up getting challenged to a battle and loses his Bakugan. His Bakugan, though, has this power that basically can turn deserts into fields of grass. However, the Gundalians who captured it don't know they actually have the power. They eventually use this in a battle against Dan, and he wins by basically that Bakugan giving the power to Drago, and Drago evolving. So later on in the series, they travel to Nethia to help fight with the Nethian Castle Knights, they're called. And basically, one of the first missions is to actually restore the second shield generator to prevent against, you know, some, I don't know, orbital bombardment, Stellaris stuff, whatever. Later on in the series, they actually have to fight Jake, because what happens is Jake actually gets brainwashed by the biggest bitch in this fucking series, Kazarina. And I hate this character. Many people, I think, would agree with me. Kazarina is a big bitch. She also goes around trying to kill quite a few of the spies. It actually puts them in tubes and brainwashes them again because the spies try to betray and plot stuff as well. And the Gundalians are also brainwashing children, forcing them to fight. So they're getting child soldiers now that they're getting from back on into space. And also, Drago and Darak are cousins. And also, if they meet in combat, they'll be sent away and a massive explosion happens. Because if they actually fight each other, the world will literally end, most likely. So you're probably wondering, why has Gundalia invaded Nethia? Well, I was wondering that too. So I looked it up. Found out actually, Barodius wants to invade Nethia because Nethia has this thing called the Sacred Orb, which is a vast amount of power and actually leads into a thing called Codeve, which we talk about later in the series. And then eventually, you know, he invades it, but we found out later in the series through a flashback that his father always told him never to touch or disturb the power of the Sacred Orb. And he was like, okay, I'm gonna invade him anyway. Anyway, some more weird shit that happens in this anime is Kazarina kidnaps Dan and then has him on a bench for 2 episodes straight, pointing a laser at him thinking, yes, I'm going to kill you. And then just spends 2 whole episodes just doing this with the button. I'm going to press it, yeah. Ooh. And never presses it, and then eventually Jake snaps out of his mind-breaking thing and then stops the whole thing. Also, during one of the final battles, Barodius kills Stoica and Aerosol'S for no apparent reason. Also kills Gil because he killed Kazarina. That was an undeserved death. He should have lived for that. Right, the characters. There's a lot of them in this series, so I've managed to get my friend to help me to do the 12 orders because they know better, obviously. So we have Dan, Marucho, and Shun, who are just basically, as we know, the base 3 characters. We have Jake, obviously, American football dude, who just is a sub-terraporter because, you know, why the bloody hell not? Then we have Fabia. She's a chaos brawler and one of the good guys in the series as well, if you didn't already know. In this season, she's also the heir to the throne of the planet Nethia as well. But she's not the queen just yet. That's in the next series she becomes the queen and gets half a minute of screen time in there. But in this one, she gets like half of the season of screen time, so that's good. This is why I like the series. Also, if you recognize her, she's actually my profile picture on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all those places. It's actually just basically an updated version of that. So by the way, you should follow them as well. Okay, look, I'm not saying I would buy a body pillow of Fabia, but I'm saying I would consider it. So another character we have is the character Ren, who by the way is an okay character. His voice acting was a little bit off sometimes.
Why should I pull any punches? You're number 1, right?
But otherwise, Red is a pretty in-depth character. He has a pretty good morals. He does betray Barodius eventually after realizing he was actually being tricked the entire time. He was actually the leader of the Gundalian spies, but then obviously he, betrayed them after half his team basically just got killed. Also, his Bakugan Lineholder actually has some overpowered planet destroying capabilities. So, and he's meant to stop it, but then he didn't, and then nearly caused the entire planet of Nethia to get destroyed, and then accidentally summoned this fellow right here. That's right, I'm bringing back Dragon Lord Colossus for another video. The final character we have is Captain Elright, and he is the leader of the Nethian army. And now we're on to the Gundalian spies, these 6 characters here. So firstly we have Sid, who literally just looks like your average American jock who rides a motorbike to school probably. And then we have Lena, who looks like a receptionist at like a retirement home or whatever. Mason, he literally looks like he's trying to rip off Ian from Smosh and Lemmy from Motorhead's haircut at the same time. Then we have Zenit, who literally is just Julie, but Gundalian. And then we have our good friend Jesse here, who's basically the average guy who likes to read Shakespearean novels all the bloody time and then act like he's in a Shakespearean novel when he's not, and he just comes off as really weird, and I hate this character. So anyways, the 12 orders. Enjoy it from my friend who will explain it all.
Quick disclaimer, I watched the Serbian version of the anime, so if I pronounce any names wrong, I am not sorry. I'm gonna be describing the villains in the anime, because I watched Gundalian Invaders 12,000 times. So on to 12 orders. So the 12 orders are a group of Gundalians that are the main antagonists in Gundalian Invaders. They all have different attributes. Like the name says, there are 12 of them because they come to Bakugan too. They're the largest villain group known in Bakugan so far. Norzak is the only member that is still alive. Each member has special abilities, and now I'm gonna describe each one of the main villains. I'm gonna start off with my favorite characters first. Number 1 is Stoica. This little gremlin was an Aquos brawler in 12 Orders. His partner Bakugan is also Aquos Lithrios. Stoica was the most insane of the group, and he also enjoys annoying his teammates. He's most likely the youngest one in the group, with Aerosol probably being only slightly older. Most people in the Bakugan fandom find Stoica very annoying, but I love him a lot. Him and Shadow are the best characters of all time. He is also known to breathe underwater. Stoica is said to have a split personality. When you're nice to him, he's fun to be around, but if you do anything to make him mad, he's known to be very cruel. He's very loyal to Barodius, but the reason why is not known, probably because of his personal gain. The only person he gets along with was his Bakugan, Lithrios. Next we have Aerosol. Aerosol is the Ventus brawler in 12 Orders. He is also the captain of the Gundalian army. His partner is Ventus Strikeflyer. Aerosol is the expert of information analysis and is the #1 trainer on the team. He's also a great leader and a tough brawler, loyal to Barodius, similarly to Gil. He doesn't get along well with Stoica, which is very obvious in the anime. Known to be very agile and intelligent. For one really like Aerosol, I put Stoica first because he's the most interesting one. Aerosol's personality is mostly a mystery in the anime since he rarely ever talks, and when he does, Gil is always near him. Now on to His Highness himself, Barodius. Barodius is the Emperor of Gundalia. He is a darkest brawler and his partner is Dorak. Barodius was a power-hungry narcissist. He started the Nathian Gundalian War because he wanted a little ball that has power, also known as the Sacred Orb. Barodius is known to be a backstabber, and if he's nice to you, you know he wants something from you. Like a child, he gets mad when something doesn't go his way. His childhood friend Gil has probably seen Barodius throw a tantrum like a million times. He still throws tantrums even though he's an adult. In other words, he's a Karen. Ruling a planet is not a very good idea. To Gil. Gil was the Pyrrhus brawler and his partner is Krakix. He was Barodius' right hand until Barodius replaced him with Kazarina. Like Barodius, Gil threw a tantrum and killed Kazarina. Gil sees Barodius as his older brother as he was brought up by Barodius. Because Gil is an orphan, got no parents. Gil is a calm and patient warrior. He despises Kazarina, which is obvious in the anime. Honestly, Gil, same man, same. Loyalty to Barodius has no limits and he's not easily angered. He's shown patience towards the minor of the 12 Orders, aka Lena and the squad. Now on to the biggest bitch in the entire anime, Kazarina. She was the Chaos brawler in the 12 Orders. The only thing I like about her is her Bakugan, Lumagrowl. She had a very obvious giant crush on Barodius. The only thing I agree with Kazarina is that Barodius is hot. Kazarina is a mad scientist and a witch, as she was called by the other members. She wants to be Barodius' queen. Girl, that ain't happening because he's an emperor, not a king. Kazarina was tortured by Barodius after Mason escaped. Like Barodius, she's also a Karen. Killed Fabia's fiance Jin and took her now to be her guinea pig and to experiment on him. Oh my god. I forgot to mention Nurzak. Nurzak served the royal family of Gundalia for a very long time. Eventually, he realized that Barodius was not the right person to rule Gundalia. He decided to betray him and leave to Nathia and eventually join the Brawlers. He is a Subterra brawler and he was the late Emperor's right hand.
I agree with her, she also thinks that Kazarina's a bitch. Anyway, the toys. Firstly, we have Battle Gear. Now, Battle Gear is amazing. I will now show you what Battle Gear does. So here is a Bakugan gate card. Here is a Bakugan. Wow, I missed. There is Drago. Right, so obviously, firstly, we need to make him presentable. There we go, like that. Now, this is Drago without Battle Gear. See, he looks very sad, right? So now we're going to put the Battle Gear on by flipping down his thing, pushing him forward. There we go. This is Battle Gear. There we go. Battle Gear. Isn't that amazing? Bakugan Battle Gear, as I showed you, is actually like the greatest thing to come to this planet since sliced bread. Obviously, there's some more, you know, toys in Bakugan. For example, Bakugan Mobile Assault, which was literally just a motorbike for your Bakugan, which was incredibly overrated and was probably used like twice in the entire series. And then obviously we have our good friend here, Dragonoid Colossus, which basically is the greatest thing to come to this earth since sliced bread and Bakugan Battle Gear. And also he comes with his own Battle Gear, like, look, here you go, Battle gear. Also, unfortunately I don't have this one, but Darak had his own battle gear, Darak Colossus I think it was called, and it actually came in 3 parts, but in the series when they made it, the 3 parts were like spider legs and stuff to make it seem more scary and edgy, but it was just really weird. And yeah, also Baku eggs were a thing as well, so that was pretty weird. It was like those toys where it was like, here's an egg, there's a toy inside of it, break the egg. They break the egg and it's just like, it's Drago, cool. So the pros of this series were definitely the voice acting, because as we've seen from Sid's death, the voice acting was absolutely amazing.
Caravan, will ya? Don't worry about the rest of us, friend. Just do what you have to do, okay?
Also, Dragonoid Colossus was also amazing as well. Right, the cons of this series are definitely the fucking title, because it spoils the major plot point of this whole series. It's like calling Avengers Infinity War Avengers but Thanos kills everyone. See, it's not that good, isn't it? And also, definitely, it was too short, this series. If it was a little bit longer, it definitely probably had more time to flush out more of the plots, but unfortunately it doesn't. Also, the fights were pretty mean for some reason. If I had to rate this series out of 10, it will be a solid 7 because Princess Fabia.